Okay, so everyone, we're just ticking over to 11 a.m. So what we'll do is we're going to start the session. Peter is on screen now. Just for everyone that's joined the session, my name's Alfred. I'm from Emerald Financial. I'm just going to assist Peter run this session. He will be taking questions from anyone that has any at the end of the brief presentation. If you are logged in from a computer, on your left-hand side, there's a Q&A button. If you do have any questions, just pop them in that Q&A box and we'll read them out to Peter after his brief presentation. So Peter, I know you've got a very busy morning, so I'll hand over straight to you.
Thank you, Alfred, and good morning all. This is a bit of a first for Novarti to do a brief straight after our quarterly announcement, but hopefully it's something we can just make as a regular part of our calendar. And necessarily it's organised on short notice, pretty much straight after we release the quarterly to the ASX. In terms of the presentation today, it's a very short presentation and really just highlights the real detail is in the quarterly, and then there'll be a much more detail in the half year, which comes out at the end of February, which has had the auditor review the accounts and essentially more detail there. So as I said, it'll be brief, and I'm actually on with another broker just before 11:30. So thank you for joining. Just in terms of a disclaimer, this is general information, it's not advice. There's nothing that you will hear has not been previously disclosed to the ASX, and actually as a result we're not actually releasing this particular presentation to the ASX. What is Novarti? We are a digital banking and payments company. We provide a range of services, issuing, acquiring, cross-border processing, subscription billing, and we would see that makes us a full-service payment service provider, and we're increasingly bringing to bear the components of that so that we are a full-service supplier of these services, and then over time hopefully to be able to add a bank license to that, so that underneath our payments business we're supported by a bank license and the margins and security that enables us. If you look at what I would call assets, we have extensive number of licenses both in Australia and overseas. We've got a lot of technology platforms. We have a lot of commercial arrangements and payment integrations and with other networks both within Australia and globally, and we have an increasingly excellent management team and staff that can execute on this mixture of licenses, technology and commercial arrangements in the payments arena. Looking at our results for the last quarter, starting with sales revenue, $3.79 million against the same December quarter from a year before, up 52%, and on a half-year basis of sales revenue against the 2019 December 31, 2019, up 49%. Now, on top of that $7.35 million, if we include government grants into our revenue, we actually end up at about $8.2 million. So for the half year, total revenue $8.2 million, and hopefully, our aim is to continue growing that through this half year and onwards from there. So repeating the main thing, year on year, up 52% on our quarterly sales revenue. A lot of the work we've done over the last quarter and half year and year has been really about, and a lot of the announcements have been about showing the market how we can peer up with major international payments companies, companies that are happy to work with us in Australia and overseas. And a lot of that's leveraging our status as a listed company, our financial services licenses, our capability and our customers. So in particular, September 2019, we became a principal issuer with Visa, having gone through an extensive due diligence process to get there. Alipay and Wechat Pay, we've worked with for a number of years. Alipay in particular, we got awarded in late 2020 an award from them for being their most innovative partner in Australia. Over the last few months, we brought on, as part of our issuing, Google Pay, Samsung Pay, and Apple Pay. Interestingly, Marqeta, which is probably now the leading card issuing company in the US and a great processor. The markets say they're heading towards a very large IPO in the US, but we are doing a lot of work and we are their BIN sponsor in Australia. And then finally on the Chinese payments, Union Pay, we've come on board as an acquirer, and we're bringing their services to our China payments business model. So net, a lot of new partnerships, quite global, and hopefully what you'll see in this calendar year, and in fact, really over the next few months, is a number of announcements where we show how we're monetizing some of these partnerships with new revenue contracts. In terms of some of the things we did in the last quarter, regulatory approval in New Zealand to be an issuer, so actually licensed, and then as we announced a couple of weeks ago, to actually be licensed by Visa as what's called an associate issuer to issue Visa cards in New Zealand, and hopefully we'll see in the near term some announcements that show the leverage off those new arrangements. We announced that immersion we will take into the US. We're on track to do that. We said we would do it Q1 this calendar year. In other words, by the end of March, we're absolutely on track to do that. And that is really about building that annual recurring revenue of the immersion platform. Whilst initially our aims will be small, to bring on a small number of clients each month, we're doing it in a very scaled way through the marketplaces of Oracle, a company called ConnectWise, Xero. Shortly, we hope to link to Intuit or QuickBooks. So really working off the marketplaces as an option for deep subscriber billing. And as we announced with Ripple, targeting Southeast Asia for increasing our penetration of cross-border payment services. If I summarize the growth strategy from the board's viewpoint and how we would hope investors think about it, at a macro level, this super thematic, this thematic of digital transformation, demand for digital financial services. We've seen with COVID that absolute acceleration of conversion of cashless to digital, leveraging Novarti's platforms, whether it be technical, licensing, our management, or our existing networks and commercial arrangements. So leveraging everything we've been putting in place, plus the fact that we've got available on our balance sheet $9 million. It's been absolutely announced by us, and we'll continue to announce it, that we are using some of that cash to absolutely drive growth. We are hiring people, we are sponsoring things, and we are getting involved in a range of marketing and business development activities to really drive growth. So, really adding those things, that demand for digital, all of the Novarti assets, platforms, tech, licenses, staff, commercial arrangements, plus cash, all about accelerating growth. And you'll certainly see that continued growth. Our aim is for this continuation of this financial year, and then continuing to accelerate over the next few years. And then I guess in summary, my contact details there. I'm always happy to communicate with any of our shareholders and investors. If you're not, please subscribe to our newsletters. And Alfred, very happy to take any questions now after that very short presentation.
Thanks, Peter. Nice and succinct, because we've only got a handful of questions already. But if anyone in attendance does have any, just pop open that box on your left-hand side, type them in. Otherwise, if you're on a phone, your box is at the bottom of the screen. Peter, got a question from Rhett. Any update on the bank license or expected timeline?
Yep. Hello, Rhett. Thank you for the question. The absolute formality is that APRA have announced licenses are on hold until March. We have a call with APRA every 2 weeks, and to our understanding, that is still the case, and we are well positioned for it. So from Novarti's point of view, we are ready, willing, and able to take up a license when it is available. The way we view the license, in particular now as our own business has got much larger and continues to get larger, is that the bank license will really underpin a lot of the work we do. It'll allow us to increase our margins and provide security for a range of the services. So, in fact, we've seen today that NAB has offered to buy one of the new licenses, 86,400 for about $220 million. We've seen that Judo's recently done a fundraising at about $1.5 billion. So once you can get through the license stage and get your products launched, you can build extreme value there. Our business plan is quite different because it's really about extending a lot of our payment services.
Very good, Peter. Got a question here from Matthew. Matthew says, might sound like a very basic question, but can you explain how Novarti makes its money?
Okay. All right. Sorry to be a bit confusing on that, Matthew. Look, we've got a number of revenue streams. Most of them are related to payment processing. But if I start, some are to do, so if I start with, let's call it the range of revenue streams, we've got some that are about us licensing our technologies, and they tend to be very, very stable recurring revenues, where over time we've licensed out our tech to, major players. Telstra, as an example, is a customer, and a number of other large telecommunications, financial institutions, and utilities. And that is probably $5 or $6 million of underlying revenue. But the balance of our revenue really comes from financial transaction processing and billing services. So whether it be us processing a cross-border payment that we might make X dollars per transaction or Y%, us issuing Visa cards, us processing an Alipay or Wechat Pay payment. So a lot of those per transaction services. And then we also get some other revenues from customers where we're providing payment network services for them. In one way or in another, if you called our payments recurring or near recurring, that is probably 80 to 90% of our revenues are recurring or near recurring. But what we're really focused on is growing those various payment services, because we think that that's where the market sees the highest value.
Very good. Thanks for that, Peter. Look, at this stage, Peter, it looks like you've been very thorough with your presentation because we've got no other questions. I'll just give everyone another 10 seconds if they do have any other questions. Otherwise, Peter, is there anything you'd like to add?
Well, I hope that, investors see that we are a very sustainable yet growth company in the fintech space. So, we haven't had some of that super kick maybe that some of the other fintech and payment companies have, but you can see this consistent strong growth, and I really hope that people join the vision that we are building a sustainable digital payments banking business, and that you'll see this ongoing growth over the next multiple number of years.
Excellent. Alrighty, Peter. It looks like we've answered all the questions from those in attendance. The session was recorded, so we will be able to forward it to anyone that requests it. Other than that, Peter, thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thank you, Alfred and Emerald. Thank you, everyone, for joining in.
Thanks, guys.